police officers who died in that horrendous attack. And then 24 hours later, you have DeRay McKesson, the head of Black Lives Matter, in the White House meeting privately with President Obama, a man who lives in a home, like he said, by two philanthropists, James and Robin Wood, out of Baltimore. And they are on the board of the George Soros Foundation Open Society Institute.
And he gave $35 million to Black Lives Matter alone just for Ferguson. Understand, this is all by design. This is a green light. With Facebook and Google and everybody saying Black Lives Matter and don't say all lives matter, remember? And scratching that off the board. This is the signal for the weirdo communist rebellion that'll then be administered by billionaires offshore who are tax exempt. Of course the billionaires offshore want to raise taxes under a Hillary thing to take our money and give it to them in a banker bailout. With a bunch of useful idiots burning their own neighborhoods down. Sorry, go ahead, Biggs.
I mean, Netanyahu can't even go get a meeting with Obama, but you have a guy right now who's making $165,000 from the Baltimore School District. That's a lot of money. This guy is making $165,000, being given a home to live into by George Soros and his board members to go out and start civil unrest. They're going to be at the RNC and they're going to be at the DNC. And we've seen emails, we've seen different reports where these guys are protesting. They are planning huge amounts of people to come out, show up, and disrupt the RNC.
And I'm going to say this right now. The globalists have miscalculated. You think you're going to intimidate free speech and intimidate Americans by coming out and threatening people and threatening folks? I'm coming there. I'm going to be on the street every day. And just because you're backed up by George Soros, the Nazi collaborator who just overthrew Ukraine, just because you think you're God, this isn't Egypt, this isn't Libya, this isn't Syria, this is America. And you're going to find out, you little bastards and your filthy handlers, exactly what America stands for, because we're nonviolent until you start it. But your time is coming to an end, filth. And the elite think that they're in control. They're elite maggots that think they would pull this crap in our country. Obama pushing total racial division and race war and killing random police. God help us. This is a criminal force we're dealing with. And I'm calling for everyone throughout government, corporations, private life, everywhere to resist this enemy with every legal means necessary. But take the gloves off. In the info war, we're going green light here. Fire at will in the info war, folks.
It's going to be intense. There's going to be thousands upon thousands of people packed into this area. There's tons of police. Police from Austin are being shipped up to pull security in Cleveland and other departments around the country. I mean, they've even closed down the airspace.
Think about the balkanization where cops are going up there to protect people's free speech by groups won by the White House that want to kill cops. I mean, this is the takedown of America by a bunch of goddamn Benedict Arnolds.
But what's been going on? What's been leading up to this? Al Sharpton and Obama all calling for the federalization of police. We're going to have two huge events where we have paid protesters coming in to spark civil unrest. They're going to say the local police can't do this, and they want to bring in federalized police, and then it's going to be martial law all over the place.
Civil emergency. It's all a big demonstration.
And when that happens, Obama can go for a third term.
And I'm telling you, I used to hear this years ago. I thought, I'll never try it. God, who knows? They got a bunch of social justice warriors that want to see anybody that's a libertarian or patriot frickin' hung. I mean, they hate free speech. They hate everything. A bunch who lived in this free, open country, who had ever worked a day in their lives. They don't even care that Bernie Sanders voters had all their votes stolen. They just don't care. They are more immoral trash.
But think about this. Ohio is an open carry state. Without a permit, you can go in an open carry. And now the new Black Panther Party, which is known as a terrorist organization, is coming out there with machine guns, with sawed-off shotguns, with all this. They've openly come out and said they're going to be coming out there. Are they going to be attacked for having guns? No. Is this going to be an opportunity to use as a false flag, to blame it on the right-wingers, so to say?
Oh, this is
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm telling you, this week coming up is going to be the most intense time in years.
I'll tell you right now, I'm not scared. I am excited to be able to join the ranks of our forebears that stood up against tyrants and bullies and trash, and against the British Empire, and against the Mexican dictator Santa Anna. And I mean, I am so honored to stand against the hordes of Mordor and just the trash. And I ask all Americans, whether race, color, and creed, that stand for free speech and the First Amendment, to understand this is your chance to be involved in an epic battle for the Republic. Because let me tell you, they're not just beta testing communist overthrow now. This is globalist megabank run communist doctrine. They are thinking about going operational with a full overthrow of the country. I mean, Obama turning the lights off, folks. I mean, coming after the guns, huge inner city population starving to death, you know, and just demanding martial law, creating total race war. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Think about all the Bernie or bust people, the people that donated thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to Bernie Sanders' campaign to defeat Hillary Clinton, and he has now bowed down, sold out to the establishment, who he said he was anti-establishment. That money goes to her. Look at all those people that are going to come out, to show up to RNC and to the DNC. They're going to be angry. They're going to now start voting for Trump. I guarantee you're going to see a huge
And that's why they need to make some type of racial issue early on in the Trump deal and some type of riot. And the word is from Roger Stone and others, and we also have this from the police. I'm going to stop right there. This is the breaking news. We already knew this was happening. It's happening now. When Hillary wanted to demonize Bernie, she would have people attack Trump in Bernie outfits. They're going to have people in Bernie outfits attack Trump supporters and free speech supporters, anybody who's white, to make it racial. Because it's okay if you're, you know, if you're another color and you're taking white, that's all right. To make it where Bernie supporters see the fight and the clash and just think, there's a clash between Bernie. Bernie's already thrown the towel in. There's a clash between Bernie and the Trump. I'm against Trump. Be nice to my Bernie because let me tell you, I'm Bernie. Listen to you. Listen to Bernie to tell the truth now. What happened here is I was sold out to Hillary many years ago. Never worked till I was 40. I promised you all these free goodies because we want you dependent. All right? I told you not qualified. Warmonger, Goldman Sachs, biggest corporate candidate ever. The truth is I sold you out. Now I think you're dumb. We're going to have our people dressed up like they support me, and then they're going to sit there and attack everybody. And when the Trump people fight back, it'll all be about how the Bernie people hate Trump. That's to manipulate you, dumbasses, all right?
Think about all the money, though, that Hillary would have not gotten going out and campaigning. The amount of money that they use Bernie as a pawn, I think, to get money from these groups of people who would have never given money to Hillary, knowing the end game would be that he would, you know, pass on.
A war chest for Trump.
Give out and then use that more money to go against Trump, because that's all we've seen in the mainstream media is how everyone is attacking him, using this racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, and, you know, Islamophobic narrative nonstop, shoving it down people's throats. And every time I go out in the street and I ask people, why don't you like Trump? It's the same thing. Sexist, racist. I'm like,
because they want to feel good, though. They're taught, you're good as long as you declare this. No, you're being taught this, so anybody that wants freedom can have this projected on it, and then you just piss your pants and say you can't support it. Anthony Gucciardi.
No, exactly. It's sad. Once again, the media is hijacking everything. They hijack the narrative. They tell you that you're supposed to care about things. They bring up the whole race issue. They bring up all of this. The truth is, I don't think people are buying it. I'm not buying it. And what's funny is, I do think Black Lives Matter, and I think everyone in this room knows that Black Lives Matter. But the issue is that when you say all lives matter, then you're racist. That is absolutely absurd. It's completely mentally ill. If I was a doctor looking at this society, this country, as the media shows it, I would declare it completely mentally ill.
To say it's racist, to say all lives matter, like Martin Luther King, is taking not being racist and saying it's racist. What genius.
So it's mental illness at the highest degree. If you ever talk to a crazy person before, they'll just say the opposite. You know, you come up to, how are you doing? Stop being mean to me, right? Just totally mentally ill.
I'd like to work this out with you. Shut up.
Yeah, this society is mentally ill. It is deeply, deeply mentally ill. But the good thing is, I don't think people are buying into it. Just look at the political correctness BS. The Redskins, right? The Redskins, so many Native Americans are being offended by this team, okay? Maybe even is offensive, but guess what? 96% said they weren't offended by it.
Of natives.
Yeah.
But look, exactly. So let me ask you this question, Anthony. What are they thinking then? Because it isn't working in the real world in their own weird cult programming. No, they keep doubling down. What are they doing?
70% of Americans say they are pissed off and angry about this country and where it's heading. Over 60% say that it's never going to get better. Like, the stats are insane. There's 19 stats you can look up. Like, 50% of Americans just hate everything. People are depressed. People are angry. People are frustrated. They hate the system. So what the media does is they have a unique opportunity. They have the opportunity to funnel all that hatred and anger, which is actually against the establishment where everyone bought into it and lost. They got the raw deal. They ordered a steak. They got a bloody chunk of meat. They got the raw deal. So the media then takes that unfiltered rage and hatred and puts a magnifying glass on these little micro issues. It's all a distraction. They
focus all the rebellion against the foreign occupation, the globalist, all their scams, NAFTA, GATT, everything, onto random local police who most of them are quitting and freaking out, so crime rates are exploding, and the cops are like, I'm out of here, screw this. I mean, you can see the plan to bring the country down. I just got chills.
See, we get drawn into it, though. We have
to cover it instead of all the other stuff.
We get drawn into it, which is funny because we have to talk about it. But now, it's Black Lives Matter versus police versus white people.
And the average childlike person, the average liberal, is Arrested Development, thinks they're an intellectual. I mean, literally, it's like make-believe, like they're Wonder Woman or Superman. They're not. They just think as it's being covered, they're getting attention, they're winning. When instead, total balkanization is being created, and it's legitimizing a police state they're going to bring in that's going to make you want the one you just lost.
You know, it is very, very sad. The truth is, I think Black lives do matter, as I said in that video, and as we all agree. But I also think all lives matter, and if I'm a racist for saying that, that is a very, very absurd, disgusting state of affairs. And the point that I'm trying to make, and the point that Alex, I believe, is making in that video, is that this is a very, very sad funneling of the distrust of government, distrust of the system. We've been told that if we go to school and get good grades and go through college and be a good worker drone and sit in your cubicle, you'll have a white picket fence and you'll be happy someday. But that's not how it worked out at all. And there's real discrimination. I've been mistreated by police many times in my life. I went to Utah, went up to the NSA, if you guys remember, years ago, and they basically said their dog was going to rip my testicles off and eat them, and that I'm lucky the dog didn't get me because he was hungry. Okay, so I've had cops mistreat me, and there's real discrimination. There really, really is. There's real racism. But it's not about white people versus black people, cops versus whatever. That is an insane division, and we're falling for it if we let the media and the so-called establishment hijack the narrative to where it's all about race baiting. It's all about just how we're bad, okay? And now in kindergarten, they say, this is a black person, this is a white person. And the kids are like, what? I didn't even notice the difference. This is a black person. It's absurd. That's real racism. I'm against real racism. I think all lives do matter. And I hate the division, and I'm tired of it, and it's stupid. We need to go back to preschool and relearn some ethics and understanding of what racism really is. And we'll talk about a little bit more about trigger warning in the next segment, too. I have some things to say on that. But first, we're going to blitz through one more call. Alex in Mexico says he's an ex-Bernie Sanders supporter. What is on your mind? You've got about 30 seconds.
Hello. Well, I used to... Well, first, let me say that Hillary Clinton is a very dangerous person for the whole world, and I think she would just eat her young. And I used to support Bernie because he was against TPP, which completely erases sovereignty of nations. And the last days I've been hearing Trump speak, and I think he's against TPP. And what I like about Trump is that he wants to cancel NAFTA. That actually is seen as a good news.
Right on. We'll talk about it as soon as we get back, and I have some thoughts about Bernie as well. And I hear your points 100%. We'll be right back. This is The Alex Jones Show. We are back. I apologize to the caller. We don't have much time at all, and I wanted to hit on a few points. But just to address your point, you were talking about being a ex-Bernie Sanders supporter. And you said, it seemed like you support a lot of things he did or stood for, but obviously there were some issues. I think that a lot of what Bernie stood for was good, okay? Not in the economic sense, but he was against NSA spying. He was against a lot of the so-called intrusive federal government acts that were going on, which is kind of funny, right? Because everyone talks about how he's for big government like that. But I could see the appeal of the Bernie wave. I could see the appeal. It's anti-establishment in many regards. It's just the little things that people don't notice because everyone loses themselves to the details, as always, as we've talked about. But I just wanted to remind you, InfoWarsLife.com, DNA Force is 25% off, which is a very large percentage. It's been a very, very long time since we did a deal like that for DNA Force. DNA Force has BioPQQ, which is backed by over 180 clinical studies. It's the real deal. It is. If you go and look at InfoWarsLife.com, click on the supplement facts panel, look at the ingredients, and actually research each one or scroll down for the description and learn what is in DNA Force. And That's pretty much all you need to know. I mean, this is the most expensive product that is made on InfoWars Life. Just one batch of the really, really good patented stuff costs $30,000. It's not a joke. It's very expensive. The margins are not very good. But it is a very, very powerful product with CoQ10, mega antioxidant that lasts a very long time. But the BioPQQ, the science behind it is absolutely 100% absurd. What I wanted to talk about now, though,